Okay, I did something, Carolyn and I did something that we don't typically do, but there was a few reasons why we did it. We bought this lawnmower and it was only $40. And the guy, or I guess it was actually a gal in this case, said that it started losing oil from the bottom. So they shut it off and parked it. So I asked, does it run at all? She said, well, I guess, but you'd have to add oil. We were kind of in the zone of, nah, maybe we won't buy it, but it was 6 miles away. And then when we got to examining the pictures on Facebook Marketplace that she posted, we both began to realize that there might be more value in this mower than just it being a running lawnmower. Not more value, but some value, more than $40. Obviously, the first thing we noticed was the tires all look fantastic. They're all aired up. And I don't see a lot of dry rot, lots of good tread on it, which isn't all that important, but it does show you that they're fairly new. Now that they're here, I think, I would have to deflate it to be 100% sure, but I think they also have inner tubes in them. I don't think that's a regular valve stem. I think that's an inner tube valve stem. So if I deflated it, I would know if the valve stem started to move in and out. So just the tires alone are worth $40. And the reason I know that is because I'm in the process of rebuilding a lawnmower, Craftsman. I've showed you many videos on that one. And I had to buy 4 inner tubes, and they were $10 each, so that's $40. So there's $40 value right there. So the tires just paid for the lawnmower. Well, does the starter work? We'll find out here in a minute if the starter works. If the starter works, that's a $40 value because I just replaced the starter, had to buy it, it was $40. I could sell that, and what I would do is probably sell it for like $30 and let the customer know that I'm giving them a used part. Now, of course, if they wanted a new part, I could give them a new part. But the thing is the $30 would be all mine. So now we're positive $30. Another thing that it has that I've bought 2 of recently is a battery. And he says the battery works. Again, we'll find out here in a minute. Now, I've been buying these cheap batteries for 20 bucks a piece, but this battery is a $40 battery. That would be worth putting in the house, charging up on a trickle charge, or putting it down with my solar panels and just keeping it on a constant charge. That would be worth keeping. And it's $40. So again, if somebody needed a battery and they were in a hurry, I could charge $20 or $30. And so now let's just say we're up $60 now. Of course, there's other things like the ignition solenoid, you know, those are $20. So there's some value in this. The transmission, if it's good, I could yank that off. It's one of those hydrostatic, but it's kind of, you don't have the foot pedals. It's an older model. It wouldn't have sold for much anyways. Now, a few things that could be wrong with the engine. It could be catastrophic. Could have thrown a connecting rod. Connecting rod is what connects your piston to the camshaft. And it could have broke. Now if it broke and it poked a hole into the sump, then you have a busted engine. You can replace a connecting rod. Well, you can replace a sump too, but those are like $300, so definitely wouldn't be worth it. But the connecting rod is like 20 bucks. So although it would be a project, it would be take the motor off and disassemble it, it wouldn't be a bad repair. So if we could get that repaired, then you know, we could sell it as a lawnmower, maybe get $200 or $300 out of it. Could not put a lot of money into this one. If it didn't look nice, remember that Craftsman, it would look terrible. Everything was terrible on it. The tires were all deflated, the seat had problems, everything had problems. But the engine was solid. So as long as you can get it running, you know, we're gonna be maybe a $400 more out of that. Of course, you know, that's not all profit. We have to put a lot of parts into it. But you start putting parts in this old thing, it wouldn't do well. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to see if the connecting rods are broke. And that's not a hard task to do. And that's not a hard task to do. What we're going to do is we're going to take the spark plug out. First things first. Now there's two spark plugs. This is a V-twin, so it has two cylinders. And I guess I should have checked to see if it rotates. Okay, so I can get it to rotate, so that's good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to stick a screwdriver down into the hole, into the spark plug hole, if I can see it. The camera's in my way. I can't really get in there to get a good angle. There we go. So, yep. Now we're going to turn it. And what we're going to hope to see is that the piston comes up and hits that spark plug. It did, see? I said spark plug, I meant screwdriver. So you'll see it again. We'll hit it. You can see it's hitting on that. And you'll see I can't get it out. The piston's up against it. So I got to release it and take it off. So that's good news. Now we'll go over to the other side and do the same thing. The reason I'm putting the spark plugs back into the boot is I'm going to check the spark, see if it's got any spark on it. Okay, so now we got that screwdriver in there, and we'll do it again. We'll turn it. We see the screwdriver move. Yeah, nothing. So that tells me the connecting rod is broke. There's nothing holding it. So that's probably the worst case scenario. If the connecting rod went through the engine block and drained all the oil out of it, then the engine block it's too expensive to replace. So I guess what I'll do now is I'll check to see if there's any spark. What I'm going to do, first thing I'm going to do is check the oil. Okay, so there's no oil, so I can't even test it. What I'm going to do, I think, is I got a job coming in tomorrow. I think they just want me to do an oil change and that kind of stuff. I'll take the oil out of that lawnmower. That way I'm not wasting good oil. And I'll put that used oil into this engine. I'm going to see if there's anything draining out. See if I can figure out where it's coming out of. That way I don't have to take the engine out and look to see where it's coming out at. If I don't see any oil coming out, or if it's a seal, which I doubt it now, then maybe I'll continue on. Like I said, the connecting rod's only $20, but the casing is $300. So I don't even know if there's a point to actually checking the spark. Of course, we don't want to start it, but I will turn it over to see if there's spark. So we'll do this side first. We'll put it up against a piece of metal to get it grounded. Try not to electrocute myself. Oh, that's interesting. There's no spark on this side. Okay, I'm going to go to the other side and see if there's spark, but I think I already have a theory as to what happened. Yep, that's what happened. Okay, so this side has spark. So what has happened, I'm sure, I'm guessing, but it's a pretty good solid theory, is when that side lost spark, that piston was dead weight. It was making this piston do all the work by itself. So not only did this piston have to carry the load of running a mower and the drive system, it also had to carry the weight of rotating the other piston and the valves. It had to do all that work. And so it probably stressed out this connecting rod. It was just too much work for it, and it broke. So when the connecting rod broke, it probably put a hole through the wall of the engine block. It's only aluminum, and you see it on YouTube all the time. They're always broke. So this isn't a terrible thing. Carolyn and I went in it knowing that this is probably going to be a parts lawnmower. And the nice thing is once I get the parts off of it that I want, then I can give it to a scrap guy. They come around here all the time, pick stuff up. So I know I can make the money off of the scrap, but for me to make money, I'd have to have a junkyard, and I don't want a junkyard. Carolyn and I talked about it. We want to be able to have a mower here occasionally. I got a little push mower here. I got this one. I got that Craftsman that's almost finished. And then when I'm done with it, I can give it to the scrap guy, and then the community makes money, I make money. The other thing I was thinking about is this belt on the mower deck looks pretty good, but the mower deck looks good too. You know, I don't know. I mean, this is kind of an oddball machine. I've never seen this brand before, I don't believe. But you might be able to hook this up to another person's mower. It's, I believe, 42 inch. And if their mower deck went bad, then you'd have this one. The blades don't look like they're in terrible shape. Might be able to use the blades. So there's stuff on this that, and even if I can't use it, the mower deck for example, this is an oddball machine. Maybe some guy out there on Facebook Marketplace has an oddball machine that needs a mower deck. I could just try to sell it. Again, I don't want to be a junkyard, but on the other hand, you know, what can I get out of that? Mower decks go for like $200 to $300. John Deere mower decks are pretty expensive. So if I sold this for 50 or 60 bucks, you know, I've made money off of it. The only concern I have is trying to get the back tires off. If they're seized onto the drive shaft, it's going to be tough to get off. There's a lot of YouTube videos talking about how to get it off, use gear pullers, wheel pullers and all that, but you can bend the rim if you do that. So if I can't get it off, I'll just take the tire off and sell the tire individually, and maybe the tubes. You know, I could do all that. And I know how to get it's hard, but I know how to get the tire off the rim while it's still attached to the lawnmower. So there's an option. I don't know, there's potential here. It's not optimal, but we knew what we was getting into, and we went ahead and did it. So if you'll click this up next box to take you a video where I was working on that Craftsman. So I hope I can inspire you to take a risk. It might pay off when you're living your dreams. Thanks for watching.